Scanner Sombre is a first-person horror game and lidar-based adventure through a strange subterranean world. The game is available on Steam. Atmosphere. Your footsteps reverberate off the cave walls as you paint the world in lidar dots, revealing the landscape to you. But without even seeing the cave you're in, you can get a feel for the environment in the total darkness. The sound design sells it very well. Large, cavernous spaces with perilous falls await you, but there's also the feeling that you aren't alone. Very early into the game, a figure appears and the player character talks of glitches in the system. But this unsettling moment and that reasonable answer somehow don't provide any relief. The atmosphere is of quiet loneliness, with the text of the player character sometimes chiming in to explain details about the environment, and each time it's vaguely ominous. There's something unsettling about the cave. Maybe it's the glitches, maybe it's the history, maybe it's the darkness. It feels like something is there. Shadows appear and the game fails to explain them in a way that makes sense. The atmosphere is unnerving, with brief moments of respite where the beauty of the world that you're painting into existence outweighs the horror of the things that it's covering. That's one Harry Mason. Scares. Building on top of the atmosphere, it doesn't take a great deal to create unique moments that leave you confused and afraid. It manages to do fear through scripted events quite well thanks to the game's glitches. Events like people falling from a great height aren't that frightening to see, but it's clear that you shouldn't be seeing them at all. Like the lidar system itself is haunted. There's nothing there, surely, but you can't help but feel like something is wrong, even when the rational explanation is given to you. The game does better than this in a few sections as well, with moving threats lurking in the game's water sections, and between the lidar making it difficult to see where the enemies are, and the howls of the monsters in the distance, panic develops rapidly. The single death I had in the game was nerve-shattering. The whole experience is only an hour and a half long, and it balances colouring in the eerie cave system with its exploration more than it does scares, but the scary moments are done really well, making a unique use out of the lidar mechanic. That's 2 Harry Masons. Sound design. Scanner Sombre has a surprisingly magical soundtrack, with an enchanting string ensemble that delivers mystery, fear, serenity, sadness, and even remorse. Choirs back up synthesizers, and the strings come in for the more dramatic pieces in the game. Violins, clarinets, and cellos provide uncertainty reminiscent of the quiet parts of the Dead Space soundtrack. Whilst the music is incredible, the game's sound design strengths are in its detailed sound effects and reverb, with every noise being represented perfectly in the environment, shuffling footsteps, splashing waters, and of course, the screams. The game also uses directional audio to make certain things feel more foreboding, as creepy music emanates from the game's various glitches, making you turn to face them in the environment. There's no voice acting besides the screams, which are done very well, but with what the game has, its sound design is incredibly well done and impressive in more than one way. That's 3 Harry Masons. Gore. The lidar system obviously makes it difficult to see blood if there was any. It's implied by the story that there should have been some, but the experience didn't really seem like it would have benefited from blood and gore at all. That's 4 Harry Masons. Story. You awaken in a cave, with nothing much but the sound of beeping coming from the lidar in the middle of the room. Picking it up and putting on the VR headset sets the game in motion. The story is explained in brief moments of dialogue by the player character, like they're retelling the story to you, and it's really interesting stuff. The way you travel through the cave has your character explaining the various ways the cave was used, and this is one of the few times I've ever found something far more sinister from knowing a cult was working in the area. There's some symbolism in the game, but really it's mainly environmental, or as much as you can get from the environment with the lidar gun and what your character says, and it really does a pretty good job with this, with the game's ending being surprisingly good and rewarding, if a little sad. The game's story goes really far with very little, making the final score 5 out of 5 Harry Masons. lidar as a mechanic has always been really interesting, but unlike the voidness, Sombre feels far more special and delivers more than just a pretty unsettling horror experience. Again, I'd like to remind you the whole thing is down to my opinion in horror games, and if you don't share this opinion, then that's cool, I get it. I'd like to point out that whilst I painted a lot of dots, I didn't go swimming in the lidar gear, and advise you don't either. There will always be more horror reviews in the pipeline, and thanks for watching. Now let's go check out Bumps in the middle of the night. Peace.